I think Christians struggle with this because there can feel like there's a tension in the biblical account between, on the one hand, submitting to the authorities. You read Romans 13, for example, and then the many instances in the Bible of what we would call civil disobedience. For example, you read in Daniel about Nebuchadnezzar, one of the most powerful political figures of his time, building this massive statue of himself in an act of incredible political narcissism, and demanding that everyone in the empire at the appointed day would bow down before it. And Daniel and his peers refuse to. In an act of civil disobedience, they stay standing. And this is civil, it's political, it's religious, but don't make any mistake about it. In that moment, it is an act of civil disobedience. So how do you put those in relation to one another? The command to submit to the authorities and to obey God rather than man, for example, as we find in Acts 5. How does that work? In the fundamental kind of category for it is that all authority is given by God, but there are hierarchies of authority. There are higher authorities and lesser authorities, and our problem becomes when we confuse the hierarchy of those authorities, when we elevate the lower authorities to a higher status and we subordinate or we lower the supreme authority. That's why Jesus can say, "Render unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Give unto Caesar his taxes." That's fine. Guess what? It's just money. But what do you have to give to God? You have to give him yourself. God is the ultimate and supreme authority. He is the king and the ruler of the universe who rules with perfect justice, who rules with righteousness and holiness, and we will all give an account to him. So what does that mean for us in our cultures and our communities? Well, we can have all kinds of conversations about what are particularly wise and prudent expressions of civil disobedience. So in some cultures, boycotting may be an effective economic tactic to voice protest. In other cultures, it will take on a different expression. In some cultures, it may be picketing. And every community has to have that conversation about what's an effective and God-honoring approach. So it's not just is civil disobedience biblical, is the particular instrument of civil disobedience. Does it also correspond to the virtues and the character of the kingdom of Christ? So I think that's where we have a wonderful example in our story of the Church of Jesus Christ and the civil rights movement, that the civil rights movement was at its best when it was fueled by a Christian vision and the power of the gospel to call for nonviolence. That we don't wage war, we don't advance the kingdom of God, we don't advance and uphold the dignity and the sanctity of human life through violence, we do it through nonviolence, sometimes even at great cost to ourselves. So any instrument of civil disobedience that's offered up that is contrary to the values and virtues of Christ's kingdom, Christians, I think, have a responsibility to reject it. We have a hard time with that, though, and I think part of the reason we have a hard time is we look at the way in which the world deals with injustice, and so much of it is just fueled by rage. So the world looks at, and our unbelieving neighbors and friends look at injustice, and they're right to notice there's injustice. There's something profoundly broken. But the response to that is often one of just rage and self-righteousness. Whereas the Christian response and the response of the kingdom of Christ is to tell the truth, to diagnose it. To tell our friends, this is even worse than you realize. The problem is worse than you can imagine, because it's not just an issue of injustice against another human being, it's treason against the God who made those image bearers. So it's worse than you think. But we respond not in rage, but in meekness. You look at Jesus. Jesus is showing us a picture of meekness in the face of injustice, gentleness and compassion and patience. But that gentleness, compassion, and patience is always paired with self-sacrifice. So the Christian response to injustice, the Christian response when we engage in civil disobedience, is never one motivated by rage, by hatred, or by self-righteousness. It's motivated by love, by humility, by patience, and by a willingness to endure in our own bodies at times, even the cost of sacrificing ourselves. So it's the stakes for Christians in this are far higher than they are for unbelievers, because we're the people who recognize we're called to walk with Christ the path of suffering, to lay down sometimes our very lives out of love for neighbor, rather than just retreating into comfort and silence. So absolutely, Christians have a responsibility to honor God and the emperor, but we mustn't get the order confused. Our supreme allegiance, our supreme loyalty, our supreme identity is to the one to whom all will give an account, to the creator and the ruler of the universe. And when our allegiance to Christ is called into question because of what the state or the empire or what Caesar would demand of us, then we must go and we must honor Christ. We must obey Christ, even if it costs us our very lives. And sometimes that will mean standing in the gap for our brothers and sisters who are suffering under oppression, under injustice, and paying the cost even ourselves personally.
Thanks for watching Honest Answers. You can submit your questions by email, Twitter, or in the comments section below. And don't forget to subscribe to find out the answer to next Wednesday's question.